Beloved, chosen one, stop scrolling. Heaven has been waiting for this exact moment for your spirit to awaken to what the world tried to bury. You are not here by coincidence. This is divine orchestration. Every disappointment, every night you cried in silence, every time you asked, "Why me?" none of it was wasted. You have been in training, not torment. You are a vessel under construction, a warrior being reforged for your next battle. Listen carefully. The war you're fighting right now isn't random. It's personal because your calling is personal. The enemy does not target the ordinary. He targets the anointed. The chaos in your life is not proof that God has abandoned you, but that heaven has marked you. You are standing at the edge of restoration. But the key to entering it is readiness. Heaven cannot restore what you refuse to release. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 17. But I will restore you to health and heal your wounds, declares the Lord, because you are called an outcast, Zion, for whom no one cares. This is not just a verse, it is your prophecy. God is not only going to restore what was lost, He is going to make the scars shine with purpose. Those wounds you hide in shame will become proof that you survived what was meant to destroy you. You see, the chosen are not the perfect, they are the persevering. They fall, but they rise again. They weep, but they keep walking. You have walked through storms that would have broken others. You have carried pain silently while still showing love loudly. That is not weakness, that is divine resilience. Heaven sees your endurance, even when people overlook your effort. This fight you are in is not meant to end you, it's meant to reveal you. The old you is being stripped away, and a stronger, wiser, holier version is being born. Don't fear the breaking, it's necessary for the becoming. Every shattered piece is being rearranged by divine hands. The potter never throws away the clay just because it cracked. He reshapes it for greater glory. Chosen one. The silence of God is not His absence, it's His strategy. When heaven seems quiet, it's because you're standing in the classroom of faith. God teaches in silence, and He tests through delay. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. Every no was making space for a better yes. Every closed door was leading you toward the right one. And now, heaven is whispering, be ready. You may have lost strength, but you haven't lost favor. You may have stumbled, but you haven't been disqualified. God is not finished with you, He's just resetting the foundation. You will recover all that was stolen: joy, peace, clarity, purpose. But first, your heart must decide, will you rise again? Will you believe again? Because restoration is not just an act of God, it's an agreement with heaven. Listen, this moment is holy. The same hand that allowed the breaking is now reaching to rebuild. The very place you were hurt will become the place you help others heal. Your story will carry oil. Your tears have become prayers in liquid form, and heaven has collected every one of them. You will soon see that what felt like destruction was actually direction. So lift your head, breathe again, hope again. The storm is not your grave, it's your gateway. You are being positioned, not punished. The pain you feel right now is the stretching of a new season. Do not run from it, rise through it. You are being strengthened for the very thing you prayed for. And when this season passes, because it will pass, you will look back and realize that the fight you thought would end, you actually introduced you to your real self, the warrior, the overcomer, the chosen. The world will see your glow and call it success, but you will know it was restoration. If this message speaks to your soul, let heaven see your faith in action. Like, share, and subscribe so this word can reach others who need to be reminded that their restoration is on the way. And in the comments, type this prophetic number, a sign of divine recovery and readiness, 777. Your restoration won't look like your past, it will outshine it. God is not returning you to who you were, He's elevating you into who you were always meant to be. What once broke you will now bless you. What once hurt you will now honor you. This is your moment of becoming. Rise without fear. Chosen one. For heaven has already declared your victory. The storm didn't bury you, it baptized you. Walk forward with courage, because grace has gone ahead to prepare the way. Restoration begins now. You have carried the weight of many storms. Chosen one. Some of them were visible to the world, but most were buried deep within you, silent battles, invisible wars. You've smiled when your soul was breaking, spoken faith while fear whispered behind your thoughts. You've walked through seasons where every step felt heavy, where even getting out of bed felt like spiritual warfare. But here you are, still standing, though trembling, still believing, though weary. And that is the proof that grace has never left you. The fall you faced wasn't the end, it was the beginning of something only pain could reveal. There are lessons that cannot be learned on mountaintops, they are written in the dust of the valley. You have learned compassion because you were wounded. You have learned patience because you were delayed. You have learned trust because you were stripped of control. Every loss has been a teacher in disguise, and every scar now carries divine wisdom. The Word of God declares in the book of Micah, chapter 7, verse 8, "Do not gloat over me, my enemy, though I have fallen, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light." These are not just ancient words, they are the heartbeat of your restoration story. Even in your lowest moments, God never stopped seeing you as victorious. He watched your collapse not to condemn you, but to prove that resurrection lives inside you. You see, the fall was not failure, it was a summons. God allowed it, so you would remember that strength without surrender is pride. But surrender with faith is power. When you lost what you thought you couldn't live without, it was heaven gently removing what could not go with you. Sometimes, divine subtraction comes before divine multiplication. God had to empty your hands so He could fill them again with something purer, stronger, eternal. And maybe that's why the pain felt so personal, because God's work in you has always been personal. He is not building a crowd around you, He is building a character within you. Restoration is not about being seen again, it's about being whole again. It is not about proving others wrong, it's about proving God right. You were never meant to stay broken. Every test, every tear, every setback has been the brushstroke of a larger picture, a holy masterpiece still in progress. Do you remember the moment when you thought you were finished, the nights you prayed without words? The days you moved without strength, heaven was closer than you knew. Every sigh was heard. Every whisper was recorded. God never looked away. Not even once. Even when you were angry. Even when you doubted. His mercy stood guard over you. The enemy thought the fall would erase your purpose, but instead, it exposed the depth of your faith. This is what few understand about the chosen. You are allowed to fall, but you are never allowed to stay down. Grace doesn't excuse sin, It empowers restoration. You have been walking through the ashes. But even now, heaven is breathing life into what looks like ruin. The same God who watched you fall is now commanding your spirit to rise. The same hands that let you be broken are now rebuilding you. Not back to who you were, but into who you were destined to become. You have been misunderstood, misjudged, even mislabeled, but heaven never misidentifies its own. God knows your name, your wounds, your calling. He knows how far you fell and how much strength it took to get up again. He knows the war between your spirit and your emotions, and still, he whispers, "You are mine. Not you were mine. Not you might be mine. You are mine, and I restore what belongs to me." So, if you are still haunted by the weight of failure, release it now. If you are still measuring your worth by what was lost, stop. The fall was necessary. It revealed what needed to die. The restoration is sacred. It will reveal what must now live. There is a divine exchange taking place in your life, your ashes for beauty, your mourning for joy, your heaviness for praise. Heaven will never let pain have the final word over a chosen one. Lift your eyes. Chosen one. The fall did not define you, it refined you. You are walking proof that God's mercy outruns every mistake. Your story is not over. It's being rewritten with fire and grace. The fight you thought you lost has only shifted battlegrounds. Now, the war is not to survive, but to believe again, to believe that God still has plans to prosper you, to heal you, to restore you fully. Because when the Lord restores, He doesn't return what was broken, He resurrects it better than before. The fragments of your faith are being gathered. The ruins of your heart are being rebuilt. You will rise again, not by your strength, but by divine decree. And this time, your rising will not be quiet. It will echo through every place that once saw your fall. There are moments, chosen one, when silence feels like judgment. You pray, but heaven seems mute. You cry, but there is no echo. It's in those moments that doubt creeps in, whispering that maybe you're forgotten, maybe your faith didn't work, maybe your destiny expired. But hear this truth, silence does not mean absence. When heaven is quiet, it's because God is rearranging things behind the scenes. What looks like stillness on your end is often movement on His. You have walked through nights so long that sunrise felt like a myth. You've had prayers that never seemed to reach the sky. Yet, in those dark stretches of waiting, your spirit was being stretched, your faith tested, your heart purified. God's presence often hides behind the ordinary moments, waiting for you to look not with your eyes but with your spirit. Scripture declares in the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 20, "You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy." The pain that once made you question everything will soon become the reason you praise. The sorrow that nearly drowned you will become the well from which living water flows. God doesn't waste tears, He transforms them into oil. And that oil, that anointing, is what separates the chosen from the called. There is a divine purpose behind your silent season. Heaven sometimes closes every door not to punish you, but to isolate you long enough to rebuild you. God hides His greatest treasures in darkness before revealing them to the world. That's why it felt like people walked away, like opportunities slipped through your fingers, like nothing made sense. You were being protected from counterfeit promises. Heaven was filtering your circle before releasing your calling. Do not mistake isolation for rejection. In divine arithmetic, subtraction always precedes multiplication. The silence has been sacred space, a pause for preparation. Every unanswered prayer was heaven's way of shaping your spiritual ear, training you to discern his whisper from the world's noise. When you finally hear that whisper, you'll understand why he had to quiet everything else first. Chosen one, even when you couldn't feel God, he was nearer than your breath. You thought you were alone, but you were under divine surveillance. You thought your cries vanished, but they became songs in the heavenly archives. The unseen has always been the most powerful realm, and it's where your next miracle is being formed. Your restoration will not come with thunder or spectacle. It will begin in the quiet place. The moment you surrender the need to understand, peace will flow. The moment you release control, clarity will come. God does not need your strength to restore you. He needs your surrender. Every silence from heaven is pregnant with a response. You are not being ignored. You are being prepared for a greater conversation. God is writing a new chapter in invisible ink, and when the timing is right, he will reveal every word. For now, he's asking you to trust the author, not the visibility of the script. Look around you. The signs of life are returning, a renewed peace in your chest, a quiet hope that refuses to die. That's not coincidence, that's divine confirmation. The silence is ending. Your spirit is tuning to heaven's frequency again. You are beginning to hear not noise, but instruction. And when you move by instruction, you no longer need constant affirmation. The chosen don't chase signs, they become them. You are walking evidence that faith still works. Your breath is proof that purpose survived what pain tried to bury. This moment right now is not about doing more, it's about being still enough to know. Still enough to sense his presence filling your emptiness. Still enough to understand that the voice you've been waiting to hear has never stopped speaking. It's been guiding you quietly all along. So take this silence as sacred. The enemy wanted it to break you. God is using it to build you. The stillness that once frightened you will soon become your strength. Because when you emerge from this silence, your words will carry power. Your prayers will carry fire. And your presence will carry peace. Now, before you leave this moment, write these words below: I am listening. Type them as a declaration of surrender, a way of saying to heaven, even when you are silent, I trust that you are speaking. Even when I cannot see, I will still believe. Every time you say it, you align your heart with divine timing and prove that silence cannot silence your faith. When you write, I am listening, you are opening your spirit to divine instruction. You are telling heaven, I'm not just hearing words, I'm ready to obey. That phrase becomes your covenant of alignment. Every time you comment, I am listening, it echoes in the unseen realm as worship. It tells God that even in silence, your heart remains attentive, your faith anchored, and your spirit ready to receive the next command. You have felt it. Chosen one that paused before the storm. That strange stillness where everything seems to stop moving. It is as if heaven itself is holding its breath, waiting for your next decision. You sense something shifting, something unseen, preparing to break open. That's not your imagination. That is the divine tension that always comes before restoration. Heaven's pause is never wasted time. It's a space of recalibration. where God realigns your spirit with His rhythm. When doors stop opening and people stop calling. It's not rejection, it's divine synchronization. The noise of the world must quiet down so that the whisper of destiny can be heard again. Sometimes, the greatest act of faith is to stay still when everything inside you wants to rush. According to what is revealed in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." These words are not a suggestion. They are a command for every chosen soul walking through uncertainty. You are not being asked to fight harder. You are being asked to trust deeper. The silence is not a punishment. It's proof that the battle is already in God's hands. You are standing on sacred ground. Even if it feels unstable, the pause before your breakthrough is the holy waiting room of heaven. Everything around you may seem suspended: relationships, opportunities, even your emotions, but what looks like a standstill is actually divine strategy unfolding. Heaven is not slow, it is precise. Every delay is a design to ensure that when you rise again, you rise with strength that cannot be shaken. This stillness is God testing your response more than your readiness. Will you trust Him without visible evidence? Will you believe in His promises even when the process feels painful? These are not rhetorical questions, they are invitations. Heaven doesn't need your speed, it needs your surrender. In this waiting season, God is teaching you to see through silence. You are learning the language of peace, which speaks louder than panic. You are learning that divine power is not proven by movement, but by mastery over fear. You are discovering that your faith was never meant to be proven in sunlight, but in shadow, because only in darkness can you see the flicker of holy fire within. Chosen one, your destiny is too significant to be rushed. God doesn't prepare warriors overnight. He shapes them in hidden hours, molding their patience, purifying their motives, refining their faith. The waiting is not empty, it's incubating, like a seed buried beneath the soil. Unseen growth is happening under pressure. When the right moment comes, you will break through, not as a fragile sprout, but as a tree rooted in eternity. The pause is also protection. You wanted movement, but heaven wanted maturity. If you had received what you prayed for too soon, it might have crushed you. God's love often delays what His power could deliver instantly, because His goal is not to please you, it's to prepare you. The blessing that waits beyond this silence will demand a stronger, wiser, humbler version of you. And heaven is building that person right now. You are being taught to distinguish divine timing from emotional urgency. The enemy wants you to panic and act from pressure. God wants you to wait and act from peace. One brings exhaustion, the other brings expansion. The difference is discernment, and discernment grows only in silence. So breathe. You are not stuck, you are stationed. You are not forgotten, you are being fortified. This stillness is not the absence of movement, it's the gathering of momentum, like a slingshot being pulled back. The tension you feel is necessary to propel you forward. The more heaven stretches you now, the farther you will go when it releases you. Do not despise this quiet season. Do not curse the pause. Every divine warrior must walk through the valley of waiting before they stand on the mountain of purpose. The noise will return soon enough with clarity, confirmation, and calling. But for now, let your heart rest in stillness. You are in the pause before promotion, the calm before conquest, the silence before song. Heaven is waiting for your next yes, not your panic. not your striving, but your surrender. When that yes rises from your spirit, the atmosphere will shift, the walls will tremble, and what has been delayed will finally manifest. So stay still. Beloved, trust the stillness. God is not late. He is aligning everything perfectly. And when He moves, you will understand why He asked you to wait. The pause is not punishment, it is prophecy in disguise. When God pauses your path, He is perfecting your purpose. The waiting season is proof that heaven is working in silence for your sudden breakthrough. Be still. Chosen one, the quiet you feel today will soon echo with answered prayers. What seems delayed is only divine timing, preparing your greater reveal. You have reached a sacred threshold. Chosen one, the battle has been fierce, but something within you has survived every storm. You may not have realized it yet, but you are standing in the dawn of your rebuilding season. The dust is settling. The echoes of old pain are fading, and for the first time in a long time, you can breathe again. Every chosen soul comes to this moment, the quiet after the fight, when the heart finally understands that survival was not the end goal. Transformation was. You were never meant to stay a survivor. You were called to become a restorer. The fire that nearly consumed you has refined you into a vessel of compassion and courage. The voice of God thundered in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25. I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten. That promise was not spoken to crowds, but to individuals who thought their best days were over. God is speaking the same to you now. Every year, the enemy devoured every opportunity. Every dream, heaven is preparing to return with increase. But even as restoration begins, your spirit may feel a quiet stirring, a call to give back, to build something that outlives your pain. When God restores you, He never intends for the story to end with you. The light reignited in your chest is meant to become a torch for others lost in darkness. Think of your journey like a lantern. Every time someone offers encouragement, shares the word, or contributes their support, they are placing oil into that lantern, oil that keeps the flame alive for thousands still wandering through their night. This message, this space, this community is one of those lanterns. Its purpose is not entertainment, it's empowerment. You are never asked to give because heaven needs your resources. You are invited to give because generosity expands your spirit. Just as rivers never run dry when they keep flowing, your life will never run empty when you choose to pour into what pours into you. If this message has stirred your soul, consider helping the light reach another weary traveler. Share it forward. Whisper it to someone who needs hope. Click like not as a ritual, but as a spark. Each click is another ember, keeping this flame visible across the dark valleys of the internet. Subscribe to stay within the circle of light so that each new word finds you when you need it most. Connection is how fire spreads. And if your heart feels moved, sow a small gift, not out of pressure, but out of peace. Imagine it as placing one more candle on the path so someone stumbling in their storm can find direction again. You're not paying for light, you're helping it travel. Every like, every share, every subscription, every donation is a way of saying, this word mattered, let it continue. When you choose to support, you're not giving to a person, you're giving to purpose. You're helping this divine message reach someone sitting in the same silence you once sat in. Heaven sees every gesture. Even the smallest act of faith releases power in the unseen realm. When your generosity flows from love, not fear, it becomes sacred. The widow's 2 coins were recorded not for their amount but their heart. So whether you give time, prayer, or support, let it come from gratitude. You're not paying for blessing, you're participating in blessing. Every engagement, like, share, subscribe, give whispers, I believe this light should keep shining. If this word has reached you, share it forward. Stay connected. And if your heart feels led, contribute in whatever way peace allows. Every drop of support keeps this flame alive. Not for one person, but for the thousands still walking through their dark nights, waiting for a word like this. Because one day, they will hear it and they will rise. Just like you. Your giving, no matter how small, is like a seed carried by the wind of grace. It may leave your hand quietly, but it lands in soil you may never see and grows into someone else's answered prayer. When you share light, heaven multiplies it. Every click, every whisper, every offering becomes a ripple that travels farther than you imagine, reaching souls hidden behind walls of despair, whispering, "You are not forgotten." Generosity is the language of the restored. When you give, you prophesy that darkness will not have the final word. You tell the world, hope still breathes here. That's how warriors build eternity, one act of kindness at a time. Let your support flow like water, freely and without fear. Rivers that release their flow never run dry. The same God who refilled you will refill what you pour out. Every drop you give becomes part of heaven's river of restoration. There are seasons. Chosen one, when heaven steps back, not in anger, but in divine trust. You may feel as though the presence that once surrounded you has grown distant, as if the voice that once guided you has quieted. But understand this truth: God's silence is not rejection, it's refinement. When He hides His hand, it's because He wants to strengthen your heart. Heaven's distance is the training ground for warriors. The Father steps back not to abandon but to observe what you will do when the light seems dim. Will you still worship when the music stops? Will you still stand when no one applauds? This is the secret battlefield where endurance is born. We find in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him." These words were written for those who fight unseen battles, the ones who refuse to give up when heaven seems silent. You are one of them. God is watching your persistence. He is not testing your strength to expose your weakness. He is revealing your maturity. Every moment of confusion, every unanswered question, every tear shed in silence, all of it is shaping your crown. The distance you feel is not the absence of love, but the depth of trust. Only those who are deeply loved are trained this thoroughly. Think about it. Gold is never tested in comfort. It is placed in fire, purified through pressure, and refined until it shines. The same fire that once frightened you is now forming you. The heat you feel is holy, not harmful. You are being tempered for greater things. This is the point where many turn back, thinking the silence means the promise has died. But God is whispering, stay. Stay even when you don't understand. Stay even when the world tells you to move on. Because those who remain rooted in faith will soon see fruit that others only dream of. In this silence, heaven measures your obedience. Will you continue to walk by faith when you cannot see the way? This is what separates the chosen from the called, not perfection, but perseverance. When the test ends, your testimony will carry authority that no comfort could produce. Chosen one, there is a reason heaven is quiet. You are being trusted with divine endurance. Every prayer that feels unanswered is actually being stored, gathering weight in the spiritual realm. At the appointed time, the heavens will release them all at once, not as whispers, but as waves of breakthrough. Do not despise the distance. It's where you become dangerous to darkness. The silence is sharpening your discernment, teaching you to recognize God's presence even when He feels far away. What you learn in stillness will empower you in the storm. When you walk through future battles, your spirit will remember. I've been here before, and He was faithful then. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. The hidden season is heaven's forge, where warriors are made, not displayed. When the time is right, the same silence that tested you will testify for you. The crown of endurance will rest on your head, and every unseen tear will become radiant glory. Now pause and breathe. Chosen one, you have been walking through silence, but silence does not last forever. Heaven is preparing the sound of restoration, not just for you, but through you. Soon, others will draw strength from the very season that once drained you. And when that moment arrives, you will know why God stepped back. Because distance does not mean dismissal, it means destiny. Heaven trusted you enough to let you walk without constant reminders, knowing you would still find your way home. Before you move on, take a moment to anchor this truth in your heart. In the comments below, type this prophetic number, 888. It is the number of new beginnings, the symbol of divine cycles completed and grace renewed. When you write it, you are declaring, even in silence, I am stepping into something new. Each time you see those digits, remember that endings are only disguised beginnings, and every pause is preparing resurrection. When you type 888, you're not just writing numbers, you're speaking prophecy. Each 8 curves back into itself like eternity, symbolizing that what was broken will be made whole again. It means grace is circling back to find you. You are declaring that the silence you've endured is birthing something new, that the old season is closing, and a divine chapter is opening. Heaven reads that number as a declaration of readiness, as if you're whispering, I'm prepared for renewal. So, write it boldly, 888. Let it be your sign of surrender and expectation. Each time you see it, remember that what God starts, He always finishes, and what He finishes, He resurrects in greater glory. The refining fire, chosen one, is not punishment, it is purpose in disguise. You have walked through seasons that scorched your soul, where everything you thought you could rely on melted away before your eyes. Yet in that burning, something eternal remained. The flames did not destroy you, they revealed you. Fire has a strange way of stripping away illusions. It removes what cannot last, leaving only what is pure. What you lost was not truly yours to keep. It was what weighed you down. Every friendship that faded, every opportunity that vanished, every plan that failed, all of it was fire doing its holy work. And though it hurt, The purpose behind it was mercy. God refused to let you carry into your next season what would have suffocated you there. The Word of God declares in the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9, "I will bring that group through the fire and make them pure. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name and I will answer them." That verse is not a threat, it is a promise. It means your trials are not random. Your pain is not wasted. And your endurance is not unnoticed. Heaven keeps record of every tear that falls from a refining soul. Chosen one. The refining fire reveals two things: your limits and your potential. You now know what can break you and what cannot. You have learned what to let go of and what to cling to. The old version of you was fragile, but the one rising now is forged in flame. The same fire that once terrified you has become your teacher. You see, comfort never creates depth. Only pressure and heat can extract gold from stone. That's why your most difficult seasons have birthed your greatest wisdom. You learned how to pray not because life was easy, but because everything around you was collapsing. You learned faith not when everything worked out, but when nothing made sense. The fire introduced you to the God who doesn't just deliver from flames, but who stands inside them with you. In the fire, your prayers changed. You stopped asking for escape and started asking for endurance. You stopped pleading for shortcuts and started desiring strength. That shift marked your transformation from someone seeking comfort to someone carrying calling. The refining process transformed your pain into purpose. Every chosen one must pass through the furnace before stepping into fullness. The furnace strips away pride, impatience, and fear until only surrender remains. And surrender is the soil where divine destiny grows. The reason you have survived what others couldn't is not because you were stronger, but because you were surrendered. The fire also reveals who truly walks with you. When flames rise, some flee, but a few remain. Those are your divine connections, your covenant companions. Pain filters people like nothing else can. Those who stayed, who prayed, who stood beside you when everything burned, they are gifts. Hold them close, for they are part of your rebuilding. Chosen one, you are now in the cooling phase of the fire, the moment when the heat subsides and the shape of what God has formed becomes clear. What you see may surprise you. You are not the same person who entered this season. The way you speak, think, love, and believe has changed. The fire has recalibrated your soul. And here lies the mystery of the refining. What was taken from you was never a loss. It was an exchange. You traded comfort for conviction, weakness for wisdom, fear for fire. The ashes that once covered you are now being transformed into the oil of anointing. Heaven does not waste ashes, it turns them into fragrance. Take a moment to recognize how far you've come. There were days you thought the pain would consume you, yet you endured. There were nights you believed your prayers went unheard, yet you survived. You didn't walk out of the fire empty, you walked out illuminated. Do not be ashamed of your scars. They are proof of your purification. The enemy tried to use the fire to destroy you, but God used it to define you. And the light now shining from your spirit is stronger than any flame that tried to burn you down. What you have become through this refining is what the world desperately needs, a living testimony of resilience, faith, and divine endurance. The fire no longer frightens you, it fuels you. You've learned that pain can no longer control you once you understand its purpose. So, stand tall. Beloved, you carry the shine of the refined. You have been tested, tempered, and transformed. The furnace did not reduce you. It revealed heaven's craftsmanship within you. And when others see your glow, they will not see the flames that shaped you. They will see the God who stood beside you in every spark. There are moments, chosen one, when darkness celebrates too soon, when you fall, when you weep, when it seems your prayers return empty. The enemy whispers, "It's over." But what darkness never learns is that heaven writes in invisible ink. What looks like defeat to hell is often the beginning of divine strategy. The enemy counts you out before realizing that grace has already counted you in. You may not see it yet, but restoration often begins in silence. It grows quietly beneath the soil of surrender. You think nothing is happening, yet roots are forming beneath your faith. The same way a seed must die before it lives. Something in you has been buried not for death, but for destiny. The ground that covered you was not a grave, it was protection until your season to rise. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 12, verse 24, "Unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone, but if it dies, it bears much fruit." That is the mystery of your current season. What felt like loss was really planting. Heaven buried you in purpose, not punishment. You have been hidden for harvest. Think of it this way: the enemy danced around what looked like your ending, unaware that endings in God's kingdom are just disguised beginnings. He thought your silence was surrender. Your stillness was weakness. Your tears were evidence of defeat. But heaven was smiling, knowing the story wasn't over. The very moment darkness celebrated was the moment light began its ascent. Every chosen one faces a point when everything collapses: reputation, comfort, certainty, yet somehow, deep within, faith refuses to die. That stubborn, small flame inside you, that's resurrection power. It doesn't need applause or visibility, it just needs oxygen. And the Spirit has been breathing on that ember, keeping it alive through the coldest nights of your life. This is why the enemy always attacks hope first, because hope is the seed of resurrection. If he can convince you to stop expecting, he can keep you from rising. But you, beloved, have not given up. You kept hoping when logic said stop. You kept praying when results said it's pointless. That is what makes you unstoppable. Heaven can work with a heart that refuses to quit. Understand this: the enemy's premature celebration is his downfall. Every time he assumes you're finished, he underestimates God's timing. The Lord does not announce his comebacks, he simply reveals them. One moment, the cross looked like defeat. 3 days later, the empty tomb silenced every lie. You carry that same resurrection pattern within you. So if it feels like the world has turned its back, let it. If people have written you off, let them. They are not the authors of your story. Heaven holds the pen, and the next line is being written in fire. Your current quietness is not stagnation, it's sacred suspense. God is letting the enemy exhaust his celebration before he unveils your next victory. Chosen one, this is the turning point of your narrative. Every unjust word spoken over you, every betrayal that wounded you, every disappointment that tried to drain your faith, they are all becoming ingredients in your restoration. Heaven specializes in reversals. You may have been pushed down, but you are about to spring forward. The deeper you were buried, the higher you will rise. You are walking proof that hell's victories are temporary and God's promises are eternal. What tried to bury you has only prepared you for deeper growth. Every unseen prayer has been stored like water underground, waiting for heaven's rain to awaken what's hidden. The moment that rain falls, and it will, everything that was dormant will break forth with life. Remember this: divine reversals don't always arrive loudly. Sometimes they begin with a whisper, a renewed peace, a small breakthrough, a quiet sign that something in the atmosphere has shifted. That's how restoration starts, subtly, steadily, and then suddenly. Do not rush it. The slower the restoration, the stronger the foundation. You are not returning to who you were. You are becoming who you were meant to be all along. The enemy laughed too early because he thought this story was about you falling. But heaven knew it was about you rising differently. You no longer rise for validation, you rise for purpose. You no longer need to prove anything, you simply need to become. That's what the refining, the silence, and the burial were for, to transform you from one who reacts to one who reigns. So walk boldly. Chosen one, don't glance back at what broke. Keep your eyes on the horizon of promise. The enemy's laughter fades quickly, but your light will last forever. Because when God restores, He doesn't return you to where you were, He launches you to where you were always destined to go. There are times, chosen one, when you can't see the hand of God, yet you feel His fingerprints all over your life. The moments that seemed accidental, the delay, the detour, the disappointment were never random. Heaven has been writing your restoration story in the margins of every setback. The unseen hand of mercy has been guiding you. Even when your map was blank, you thought you were forgotten. But the truth is, you were being rewritten. Mercy was moving in silence, rearranging events, protecting your path, and redeeming your losses. You have been walking under divine covering, even when you thought you were wandering. Every time you cried, "Where are you, God?" He answered with unseen movement. As the psalmist wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 121, verse 7, "The Lord will keep you from all harm, He will watch over your life." This verse is the invisible promise behind every near disaster you survived. You didn't escape by chance, you were carried by grace. Chosen one, heaven's hand never left you. When you were on your knees, broken and ready to quit, God's mercy built a wall around your soul. There were attacks that never reached you, dangers you never saw, traps that were dismantled before they touched you. That was not luck, that was love. Every closed door was divine protection. Every no that hurt your heart was a shield from something that would have delayed your destiny. You are beginning to see that mercy is not always soft. Sometimes it feels like loss. But what you called rejection was really redirection. You were never wandering without purpose. You were being rerouted toward the place heaven prepared for your becoming. The hidden hand of mercy doesn't move according to your calendar, it moves according to your calling. It knows where you need to be, when you need to be there, and what must be removed so that you can stand there freely. The reason you're still standing is not that you avoided pain, but that pain never conquered you. God's mercy fought battles you didn't even know existed. While you were sleeping, heaven was guarding your mind. While you were crying, angels were aligning your future. You are living proof that unseen grace is stronger than visible opposition. Think about the times you almost gave up, the nights when the weight of life felt unbearable. Yet somehow, you made it through. That somehow was mercy. It was God quietly reminding you, "I'm not finished with you yet." His unseen hand lifted you when you thought you were sinking. There's something sacred about realizing that the worst moments of your life didn't destroy you because heaven intervened. The job you didn't get, the person who left, the season that collapsed, they all looked like loss but were actually deliverance. If God had given you what you wanted then, it would have cost you what you needed now. Chosen one. Mercy is the invisible thread holding your story together. It weaves through your failures and ties them to your victories. It takes what was broken and turns it into beauty. You are walking evidence that even when you didn't deserve it, grace still found you. And now, heaven whispers again, "Remember how far I've carried you." You are no longer at the mercy of chaos. You are sustained by the mercy of God. Every breath you take is proof that purpose is still alive inside you. Before this moment ends, take a deep breath. Feel the quiet protection surrounding you. The peace that doesn't make sense. That's the hidden hand still holding you. You don't need to understand it, just trust it. The same mercy that rescued you before is already waiting for you ahead. Now, as a prophetic act of gratitude, type these words below: "Thank you. Mercy." Let it be your acknowledgement that heaven's hand has never failed you. Every time you write it, you remind your spirit that grace has carried you this far and will carry you farther still. When you write "Thank you, mercy," you're not just typing words, you're opening your spirit in remembrance. You're recognizing every unseen rescue. Every moment you almost fell apart but somehow endured. Those 3 words are your altar of gratitude built from invisible victories. You're declaring that mercy has been your shield, your bridge, your breath. It's your way of saying, "I see now what I couldn't before, that grace guarded me even in my confusion." Each time you write it, heaven hears, "I remember who saved me." Gratitude becomes your warfare. Thanksgiving becomes your armor. So comment it with intention: "Thank you, mercy." Let it echo beyond the screen as worship. Because the moment you thank mercy, you invite it to move again. You're reminding both heaven and your heart that the same hand that saved you yesterday is still guiding you toward tomorrow's promise. As the psalmist wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 121, verse 7, "The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life." You are being rebuilt. Chosen one, not with the same bricks that broke before, but with stones chosen by grace. Every piece of your story, even the shattered ones, is being placed together by divine design. What was once a ruin is becoming a sanctuary. What was once a wound is turning into a window where light now enters. You are no longer the broken vessel, you are the rebuilt altar. The book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 4 declares, "They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations." That scripture is not just history, it's your prophecy. You are the restorer now. The same God who rebuilt you is now calling you to help rebuild others. Your restoration was never meant to end with you. It was meant to overflow from you. When God restores, He doesn't simply fix what was lost, He multiplies it. He turns your survival into testimony, your pain into power, and your story into a source of healing for many. But for that to continue, the light must keep burning. Think of this message, this space, this flow of words like a lighthouse standing on the shore. Every time you like, share, or subscribe, it's as though you're polishing the glass of that lighthouse so that its beam can cut through someone else's fog. You might never meet the soul who finds safety in its light, but heaven records every time you keep it shining. And when you choose to give, to sow into this light, imagine it as pouring fresh oil into that lamp, oil that fuels more words of healing, more moments of truth, more nights when someone scrolling in despair finds hope instead of hopelessness. Your giving becomes part of the chain of miracles, quiet, unseen, yet endlessly powerful. This isn't about obligation, it's about overflow. You don't give because you're pressured, you give because your heart overflows with recognition. This light found me, and now I want it to find someone else. A like is a spark, a share is a bridge, a subscription is a silent vow saying, I'll stay connected to this flame. And a gift, no matter how small, is a ripple that carries hope far beyond what your eyes can see. When you pour oil into this lamp, heaven multiplies it. It's like a river when it keeps flowing. It never runs dry. Your generosity becomes living water, traveling into unseen deserts, awakening hearts you may never know existed. Imagine, chosen one somewhere. Someone is right now standing on the edge of giving up. Maybe they're searching for meaning. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they just need to know that God hasn't forgotten them. Your simple act alike, a share, a prayer, or a gift could be the message that reaches them in time. You could be the reason they whisper, maybe I'll try again. You're not funding a person, you're fueling a purpose. You're not maintaining a page, you're maintaining a mission. Every bit of support is a brushstroke in the portrait of grace that heaven is painting through this community. And remember, generosity is not measured by size, but by sincerity. Even a single drop of oil keeps a flame alive. A widow once gave 2 small coins, and heaven called it a great offering, because what God measures is not the amount, but the love behind it. You've been through enough to know that giving and receiving are both sacred. When you give, you're not losing, you're circulating blessing. You're participating in the rhythm of heaven. Receive, rejoice, release, and as you release, you make room for more. So, as you listen, let your spirit rest in peace, not pressure. Like this message, if it stirred something within you, share it if you believe someone else needs a reminder of restoration. Subscribe to stay in the flow of light, where faith and fire meet each week. And if your heart feels gently moved, give not out of duty, but as a beautiful act of gratitude. Every action you take, even the smallest one, becomes a seed, and seeds, once planted in the soil of sincerity, never stay small. They rise, bloom, and bear fruit in places your feet will never touch. You are part of something living, breathing, eternal. Together, we are not just building a channel, we are building a sanctuary of words, where broken souls find shelter, and forgotten hearts rediscover hope. So let your kindness ripple forward. Keep the light burning. Let your yes to generosity become someone else's sign that God still moves through love. Because in the end, every click, every gift. Every heartbeat of support becomes one message echoing through time. The light still shines. And as that light travels, remember, you are part of its flame. Every act of love you release carries heaven's warmth farther. Together, we're proving that divine fire never fades. It only spreads. The Book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 4 declares, "They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations." The dawn of restoration always begins quietly. Chosen one. It doesn't come with fanfare or noise, but with stillness and a gentle awareness that something within you has shifted. The heaviness you carried for years begins to lift. The colors of life, once dimmed by pain, start to return with subtle brightness. This is the first light of restoration, not loud, but certain. You are stepping into the season where peace replaces panic. You wake up not haunted by what happened, but humbled by what survived. What you lost no longer defines you, it refines you. The pain that once paralyzed you now becomes the very strength that keeps you standing. Heaven has turned what was meant to destroy you into a foundation you can finally build upon. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, the second book, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." That means everything you endured, every tear, every storm, every fall, none of it was wasted. Each moment of sorrow became an ingredient in glory. Every trial was a bridge leading you toward purpose. Chosen one. You are now learning how to walk in peace without fear that it will be taken from you. You no longer need chaos to feel alive. You no longer crave validation to feel worthy. What used to shake you now strengthens you. This is what restoration looks like, not perfection, but transformation. Notice the subtle miracles around you, how your heart beats calmly in places that once triggered anxiety, how your laughter returns after seasons of silence, how your prayers sound less desperate and more grateful. You are healing. Heaven's fingerprints are on every quiet victory. The restoration of God is not always spectacular. Often, it is steady. He rebuilds your confidence one truth at a time. He restores your joy one sunrise at a time. He returns your clarity one prayer at a time. And before you know it, you look back and realize that the pieces have come together. Not because you forced them, but because grace did what striving never could. It's important to understand that restoration is not a single event, it's a journey. There will still be days of doubt, moments where you question if you've truly changed. That's natural. Even a healed wound can ache when the weather shifts. But the ache is not a setback. It's a reminder that you've survived. The pain used to control you, now it only reminds you of how far you've come. You are learning how to live from rest, not resistance. The striving is over. You've proven your faith through the fire. And now heaven is teaching you peace through the process. It may feel unfamiliar at first. Peace always does when you've known only war. But soon, it will feel like home. Let your heart breathe here. Let yourself enjoy stillness without guilt. You don't have to earn what God has freely given. You don't need to apologize for surviving. You are allowed to be happy again. The joy that once felt impossible is now your inheritance. Chosen one. Your light no longer flickers, it burns with steady flame. You no longer chase after signs, you've become one. The same people who once doubted your resilience will soon wonder how you glow without explanation. What they don't know is that the glow came from glory, not effort. It came from being rebuilt by the one who restores beyond recognition. Your peace will speak louder than your pain ever did. The calm on your face will become a testimony stronger than your words. People will see you and sense something divine, a quiet confidence, an unshakable steadiness. That is what restoration produces, not noise, but knowing. And as you continue walking, remember this: you are not returning to the old version of yourself. That person no longer exists. You are walking into your refined identity, shaped by grace and anchored by faith. The old scars remain, but they no longer define you. They decorate you with remembrance. You are not just restored, you are renewed. You are the evidence that even after ashes, beauty is still possible. The light that once dimmed has returned brighter than before. Steady, warm, eternal. And that light, chosen one, is not just for you, it's for the world watching you walk in peace again. You no longer need to explain how you survived. The proof is in your peace, the evidence in your endurance. What once buried you became the soil where your faith blossomed. You are walking redemption, breathing proof that light always returns to those who keep believing. So keep moving forward, chosen one, not with haste, but with holiness. Every step you take now echoes strength. The same path that once felt like ruin has become your runway for purpose. You are not rebuilding your life, you are revealing your destiny. Acceleration, chosen one, is not always about speed, it's about divine timing, finally catching up to your obedience. For so long, you have been walking slowly through delay, through silence, through hidden seasons. But now, you can feel it. Things are beginning to move again. The doors that once stayed shut are trembling on their hinges. The very ground that resisted your steps is starting to clear. You are stepping into a season where everything begins to align. Not by effort, but by grace. Heaven's pace is increasing around you. Opportunities, connections, healing, and clarity are beginning to flow with greater rhythm. You may not even understand why things suddenly seem easier, but this is what divine acceleration feels like. It's not chaos, it's coordination. It's the moment when heaven says, "Now." According to what is revealed in the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse 13, "The days are coming, declares the Lord, when the reaper will be overtaken by the plowman and the planter by the one treading grapes." That means what used to take years will happen in moments. What was delayed will now move with divine speed. You are not being rushed, you are being redeemed in time. God is restoring what was lost in delay, not by taking you back, but by pushing you forward. Everything that paused your progress was never a denial. It was preparation for this exact moment. Heaven has been arranging a table for you while you were learning patience. Now, as the doors begin to open, your task is not to panic, but to stay positioned. Acceleration without stability becomes chaos. But you, chosen one, have been trained in the waiting. You have learned how to stand, how to listen, how to move only when instructed. This is why God can trust you with movement now. You may start to feel that things are happening all at once, sudden phone calls, unexpected blessings, new strength in old places. That's not coincidence, that's convergence. When obedience meets divine timing, acceleration becomes inevitable. Every prayer you thought was forgotten is now merging into one powerful response. But remember this: when God accelerates your steps, stay grounded in gratitude. Speed is never a substitute for stillness. Just because things are happening fast doesn't mean you lose your foundation. The same patience that kept you through waiting will keep you through winning. Stay steady while everything else begins to move. This acceleration is not meant to overwhelm you, but to remind you of His faithfulness. The long nights, the slow seasons, the unanswered questions, they were not wasted. They built the endurance you now need to sustain what's coming. The blessings that arrive quickly still require a steady heart to hold them. You will notice divine coincidences, names appearing again, doors reopening, ideas resurfacing. Heaven doesn't forget what it starts. It just waits until you're ready to handle it. And now you are ready. The gears of destiny are turning again. As momentum grows, so does responsibility. Don't look back in fear, and don't rush ahead in anxiety. Move in rhythm with grace. There is no competition in divine timing. You are not behind. You are aligned. Everything you thought you lost to time will return pressed down, shaken together, running over. Chosen one. Acceleration is not just about outer blessings, it's inner quickening. Your spirit is awakening to divine awareness. You are seeing faster, discerning clearer, believing deeper. You are no longer waiting for signs. You have become the sign that heaven's timing is perfect. Pause now. Breathe. And let this truth sink in. It's your turn to move. Not by striving, but by surrender. The wind of God is behind you, pushing gently, powerfully, purposefully. You are no longer chasing, you are being carried. To seal this moment, type this prophetic number in the comments: 555. It is the number of divine transition and grace in motion. When you write it, you are declaring that you are ready for the next chapter, not forced, not fearful, but faithfully. You are stepping into the season where waiting turns into walking, and walking turns into running. Heaven's pace has increased, and your heart has finally caught up. When you comment 555, you are declaring that you're not afraid of change anymore. You're saying, God, I trust your timing, even when I don't understand it. Those numbers become your symbol of movement and grace. Each 5 represents divine transformation, a holy rhythm of breaking, rebuilding, and birthing anew. You are telling heaven, I'm ready for motion. I'm ready for momentum. I'm ready for more. The number becomes a spiritual key, unlocking doors that waited for your obedience. So, type it with faith: 555. Let it echo beyond the screen as your yes to acceleration. Heaven hears those numbers as a prayer in motion, a declaration that you're done surviving and ready to soar with the wind of divine purpose at your back. You are beginning to walk differently now. Chosen one. Not with the weary steps of someone trying to prove their worth, but with the quiet confidence of one who knows they are chosen. You no longer move by emotion but by instruction. What once required explanation now flows through revelation. Your heart is steadier, your discernment sharper, your obedience deeper. This is the evidence that restoration is complete when your actions begin to align effortlessly with heaven's rhythm. The word says in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5, Verse 33. Walk in obedience to all that the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live and prosper and prolong your days in the land that you will possess. This verse doesn't speak of control, it speaks of covenant. Obedience is not bondage, it is partnership with divine wisdom. You have learned through fire and silence that disobedience delays what prayer alone cannot unlock. But now, you move differently. You have stopped asking for signs and started listening for instructions. You've discovered that true freedom isn't doing whatever you want, it's doing what you were born to do. There was a time when obedience felt heavy, when surrender felt like loss. But now, you see it clearly. Obedience is not giving up your power, it's aligning with greater power. When you follow God's voice, you're not losing control, you're giving control to the one who knows the end from the beginning. Every act of obedience carries invisible influence. What you do in secret shifts atmospheres in silence. Every time you forgive when you could fight, heaven moves. Every time you choose peace over pride, angels are dispatched. Obedience has ripple effects beyond what your eyes can measure. You have become a vessel through which heaven expresses itself on earth. Chosen one. Your journey has taught you that delayed obedience is still disobedience. When you hesitated before, it wasn't because you didn't believe, it was because you were afraid. But fear no longer owns you. You've seen what happens when you delay. Blessings stall. Confusion grows. Peace fades. And now, you've made a vow within your spirit. When God speaks, I move. That vow is what separates this season from everyone before. Obedience has become your power language. You no longer react to circumstances, you respond to revelation. This is maturity, not needing signs and wonders to confirm what God already said in your spirit. You know His voice now. You've heard it in the silence, in the ache, in the whisper that told you to keep walking when you wanted to stop. And here's the truth. Obedience doesn't always make sense at first. Sometimes it leads you down paths that look like loss but end in breakthrough. Sometimes it tells you to let go of what everyone else is chasing. But the longer you walk in it, the more you see the hidden wisdom of His ways. Every time you trusted without proof, He proved Himself faithful. You have entered a new kind of strength, quiet, unshakable, humble, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself because it's rooted in assurance. You obey, not because of fear, but because of love. Obedience born from love carries joy, not weight. It becomes natural, instinctive, like breathing. This is how heaven knows you are ready for greater authority. Those who can obey in small things can be trusted with greater things. God can now entrust you with influence, opportunities, and platforms, because He knows your response will be faith, not pride. You've passed the test that most never recognize, the test of immediate surrender. Chosen one. You no longer chase outcomes, you pursue alignment. You've discovered that obedience is the fastest route to peace. When your spirit says yes before your mind understands, heaven accelerates what once took years. And what used to be battles of resistance have become rhythms of response. You walk now with the rhythm of the Spirit, not hurried, not hesitant, but harmonized. The inner war between your will and His word has ended. You have learned the holy art of yielding, and in yielding, you found freedom. There is peace in your pace now. You no longer strive for signs, you rest in purpose. Every step you take feels guided because it is. Even when you don't see the whole path, your heart knows it's the right one. This is what obedience restored looks like: a life no longer directed by fear or pride, but by quiet faith. You are no longer moved by external storms because your compass is internal. Heaven speaks, and you follow not out of obligation, but out of love. And when others look at you and wonder why you move differently, smile and say nothing. They will understand in time that the sound of your steps is the sound of someone who finally learned to walk with God. Heaven is calling your name again. Chosen one. But this time, it sounds different. The first call came when you were broken, a whisper of mercy pulling you out of despair. This one comes when you are restored, a summons to purpose. The voice that once comforted now commissions. It no longer says, "Rest, child." Now it says, "Rise, warrior." You are no longer being rescued, you are being released. The same God who allowed your fall is now inviting you higher, into realms of responsibility and revelation that require everything you've learned. Heaven doesn't forget the ones who have endured the fire, it promotes them. And now, you are being called into greater partnership with His plan. As the prophet Isaiah recorded, chapter 6, verse 8, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?' And I said, 'Here am I. Send me.'" This verse mirrors your moment right now. God is searching for those who will respond without hesitation, whose hearts have been purified by pain and strengthened by surrender. You are one of them. This new calling is not about titles, positions, or public recognition. It's about alignment, being in the exact place heaven needs you. Your scars have become qualifications. Your endurance, a testimony. What you went through wasn't just for survival, it was for sending. The wilderness you walked through was not punishment, it was training ground for your authority. Now, heaven says your name again, not with pity, but with purpose, not with comfort, but with command. The moment you whisper yes, everything begins to shift again. New doors open, not because you chase them, but because they recognize the authority on your life. You have become a key, chosen one. This next season will require courage, not comfort. You will be asked to step into places you once avoided, to speak words you once silenced, to love people who once wounded you. This is how heaven expands its reach through willing hearts that no longer live in fear. Do not worry about the magnitude of what's ahead. God never calls the qualified, He qualifies the called. Your obedience is your preparation. Every tear, every test, every moment of silence has made you ready. Even if you still doubt it, you may not feel capable. But heaven doesn't wait for feelings, it responds to faith. And your faith, though tested, remains. It is stronger now, quiet but fierce, humble but unbreakable. That is what heaven uses to move mountains. The trembling yes of a faithful heart carries more power than the loudest declaration of pride. This call is personal. It might not look like anyone else's. Some are called to speak, some to serve, some to build, some to simply live faithfully where they are. Whatever your path, your yes carries eternal impact. When you respond, you activate chains of events far beyond your awareness. Heaven aligns resources, people, and opportunities around obedience. You have already proven your endurance. Now you must prove your trust. This call will stretch you again. but not to break you, to enlarge you. The same fire that refined you will now fuel you. The same silence that once frustrated you will now guide you. You will begin to hear heaven's instructions, not as interruptions, but as invitations, and with each step of obedience, your influence will quietly expand. You won't need to chase favor. Favor will find you. Those who once doubted your calling will soon witness its evidence. But remember, chosen one, this new level of calling comes with a greater level of humility. Stay small before God, even when He elevates you before others. The world may celebrate your light, but heaven watches your heart. Never forget that you are first a servant before a messenger. First, a listener before a leader. The power that flows through you belongs to Him, not you. The moment pride whispers, remember the pit He pulled you from. The memory of mercy will keep you grounded. As you answer the call, know this: you are not stepping into pressure. You are stepping into partnership. Heaven does not demand perfection, only surrender. Your yes doesn't have to be loud, it only has to be genuine. God can work with trembling hands as long as they're lifted in faith. So listen carefully. Chosen one, heaven is calling your name again, this time not to heal you, but to send you. You have been prepared in private. Now you are being positioned in purpose. Your story was never meant to end in recovery, it was meant to continue in revelation. And when you answer this call, heaven will echo your name not as a cry of rescue, but as a declaration of readiness. Here am I. Send me. When you whisper, here am I, heaven doesn't just hear your voice, it recognizes your readiness. That single surrender turns echoes into assignments, transforming you from the rescued into the redeemer of others' hope. You wear your scars differently now. Chosen one. Once they were reminders of pain, now they are proof of purpose. Every mark on your soul is evidence that you walked through the valley and came out carrying victory. You are clothed not in shame, but in strength, wearing your story like a royal mantle. This is what it means to be restored, not to forget what hurt you, but to transform it into a crown. The apostle wrote in his second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 7, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Those words belong to you now. You fought silently when no one saw. You kept believing when others walked away. You endured the unseen battles of the chosen, and heaven recorded every moment of your faithfulness. You carry the mantle of the restored. It's invisible to the world, but the spiritual realm recognizes it. When you enter a room, the atmosphere shifts. When you speak, hope returns. You've become living evidence that what the enemy meant for harm, God turned into healing. And now, heaven invites you to share that light, not by shouting, but by shining. This is where your journey transforms into ministry. You are no longer just a receiver of grace, you are a reflector of it. Your presence is an altar, now your words. A lamp, your kindness. An open door. You may never know who finds courage through your story, but every act of love you release ripples into eternity. Think of this message as a garden we tend together. Every like is a drop of rain that nourishes the soil, helping new seeds take root in hearts you'll never meet. When you share, it's as if you're carrying a handful of those seeds to another field, places where despair still lives, where someone's soil is still dry. When you subscribe, imagine it as planting your roots deeper into this spiritual garden. It's how you stay connected to the flow of living water that keeps this ground fertile. You're saying, I'll grow with this light. I'll help it reach more ground. And if your spirit feels stirred to give, see it not as loss, but as legacy. A contribution is not a transaction, it's a planting. It's the quiet act of placing a candle in someone else's night. Each offering, no matter how small, becomes a beam of light that continues long after you've pressed send. You're helping keep the lantern burning, so that others still walking through shadows can find their way home. This isn't about obligation, it's about overflow. You are simply passing forward what once revived you. You're becoming the stream you once thirsted for, the voice you once needed, the shelter you once prayed to find. The beauty of restoration is that it doesn't end with you, it begins through you. Chosen one. Every act of support you give, whether it's your time, attention, words, or gifts, becomes an echo of your gratitude. It's your way of saying, the light that healed me deserves to shine for someone else. Heaven treasures every gesture born from love. And understand this, you cannot outgive grace. The more you pour, the more heaven refills. Rivers that flow never dry. Lamps that share their flame never lose their fire. This is the divine rhythm, giving and receiving, sowing and shining. So today, if this message resonates, water the garden. Let your engagement be an offering of light. Like if your heart found peace here. Share if you want another wandering soul to find their dawn. Subscribe if you wish to stay within the glow of ongoing grace. And if you feel led, give not out of duty, but as a sacred act of love. No pressure, only purpose. The truest giving is not commanded, it's inspired. It's the whisper inside that says, I was touched, and now I want to touch others. You are part of this living flame now, a community of restored souls who refuse to let darkness win. Together, we keep the fire alive, each spark carrying warmth to places cold with hopelessness. And one day, when someone else's story is rewritten because of this ripple, you'll know you helped light that page, because that's how heaven works, through hearts willing to keep love in motion. Every time you nurture this garden with kindness, heaven notices. Each small act alike, a word, a gift becomes sunlight that helps new hearts bloom in hidden soil. You are proof that love, once received, must keep flowing. When you release light, it multiplies. When you share hope, it circles back stronger. So keep tending the flame. Water it with gratitude. Guard it with grace. Together, we are a constellation of small lights, bright enough to guide countless souls home. Momentum, chosen one, is the rhythm of heaven working through obedience. Once you have been restored, tested, and refined, God begins to move through your life with a grace that feels almost effortless. The resistance that once weighed you down begins to loosen its hold. And suddenly, what felt heavy becomes light. This is the divine momentum, the steady, sacred force that propels you forward without striving. You have entered the season where your lessons become your leverage. The same pain that once slowed you now fuels your wisdom. The same silence that once scared you now strengthens your focus. You are moving, not by panic or pressure, but by purpose. Everything that once felt scattered now begins to align thoughts, timing, relationships, opportunities. You can sense heaven's flow moving with you, carrying you like a current too strong to resist and too peaceful to fear. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, declare, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." That verse is the melody beneath your momentum. It means nothing is wasted, not your mistakes, not your losses, not even your detours. All things, both beautiful and broken, have been woven into a single tapestry of purpose. Momentum doesn't mean chaos, it means cooperation. You've learned how to walk in step with grace. You don't chase what's leaving anymore, you trust what's lasting. You don't force outcomes, you flow with divine timing. Every open door feels peaceful. Every opportunity feels pure. That's how you know it's from God. It doesn't rush you, it readies you. This is the season where your peace becomes your compass. When confusion rises, you stop and listen. When anxiety whispers, you breathe and remember you are being carried. You no longer fight to make things happen, you simply respond when heaven moves. That is divine maturity, knowing that stillness can move mountains faster than striving ever could. Chosen one. Momentum doesn't always look like speed. Sometimes it looks like stillness that multiplies strength. You may not feel like you're sprinting, but you are being positioned with precision. Every quiet decision, every unseen act of obedience, every whispered prayer, they are all part of the acceleration happening beneath the surface. Think of a river. It flows consistently, not forcefully. It doesn't argue with rocks, it shapes them. That is what divine momentum does. It shapes what once opposed you. It carves paths through impossible terrain, turning obstacles into channels. You are that river now guided, not by sight, but by flow. There was a time when you thought slowing down meant failure, but now you understand it was preparation. God was not withholding progress, he was ensuring foundation. You cannot sustain momentum without stability. What he's building through you requires roots as deep as the reach is wide. You are not being hurried, you are being harnessed. Heaven has placed a holy rhythm in your steps. Your life is becoming a symphony, each note carefully timed. Each rest as important as the sound. You may not hear the full melody yet, but heaven does, and it is beautiful. Notice how peace follows you now. It's not that storms no longer come, it's that you've learned how to walk through them without losing balance. You've discovered that momentum is not about escaping storms, but carrying stillness within them. You've stopped trying to control the wind, you've learned to sail with it. This is what walking in divine momentum feels like: less resistance, more resonance. You've aligned your frequency with heaven's rhythm, and now, doors open naturally. Connections form organically. Opportunities unfold effortlessly. You are no longer chasing what you want, you are attracting what you're ready for. Chosen one. This flow you feel is sacred. Don't mistake it for luck or coincidence. This is the reward of alignment, the fruit of saying yes when it was hard, of trusting when it made no sense, of staying when you wanted to run. Heaven is now responding to your consistency with clarity. And remember, momentum requires maintenance. Protect your peace like treasure. Guard your gratitude like gold. The same presence that propels you also preserves you. Keep your heart soft, your vision clear, and your motives pure. The moment pride takes the wheel, the flow turns into friction. You are walking in partnership now, not just following God, but moving with Him. Every breath is synchronized with purpose, every step harmonized with promise. You have become the movement of grace in motion, a living rhythm of redemption. And as you continue forward, you'll realize that divine momentum never ends, it only deepens. You are being carried, not by wind or will, but by the whisper of destiny, and the one who called you will see it through to completion. The path ahead won't demand striving, only trust. Keep moving with the wind of grace at your back, and watch every promise unfold effortlessly in divine rhythm. The final dawn rises. Chosen one. The air feels different, not heavy like before, but alive with quiet promise. The long night has lifted, and the sky no longer hides its colors. You can almost feel heaven exhale as light spills across the horizon of your new beginning. This is the glory after the battle, the moment when everything you endured begins to make sense. You have come through the valley that once whispered defeat, and now you stand upon the hill of victory. Not the kind of victory that boasts, but the kind that breathes calm, steady, and sacred. It is not loud, it is lasting. The ground beneath your feet feels familiar, yet transformed, as though every step you took through pain has softened it for your arrival. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." You have reached that morning. The tears that once blinded you now water the garden of your growth. The very storms that tried to drown you have made you fertile ground for miracles. You are no longer defined by what you lost, but by what survived within you. Restoration is no longer a distant promise, it is your reality. You have walked through every stage, the breaking, the silence, the refining, the rebuilding, and now you stand as living testimony that grace truly restores what the fire cannot destroy. The light around you isn't borrowed, it's born from within. It's the glow of someone who has seen both death and resurrection and knows they are not opposites but stages of transformation. Look at yourself not through the eyes of regret, but through revelation. You are stronger than the storms that came for you. You are wiser than the pain that shaped you. You are gentler because you have seen what cruelty can do, and you have chosen compassion instead. That choice alone proves your rebirth. Everything you went through was preparing you for this steadiness. The moments of despair that nearly consumed you were actually building endurance. The unanswered prayers that haunted you were shaping patience. The silence that made you question everything was training your ear to recognize God's whisper. The fire that burned around you has refined the voice within you. Chosen one. You have become what you once sought. You carry peace not as an emotion, but as an atmosphere. Wherever you walk, chaos loses its power. You speak with authority not born of pride, but of presence. You no longer need to announce that you've changed. Creation already recognizes it. Even the wind seems to move differently around you, gentler, knowing it carries someone who has learned the rhythm of heaven. The glory after battle is never just reward, it is revelation. You now see how God was present even in the silence, how grace worked even in the fall, how mercy waited even when you ran. What once felt like punishment was protection. What once felt like delay was design. You were being rebuilt for the very weight of destiny you now carry with such calm. There is beauty in this stillness. You no longer crave signs or seek approval. You have discovered that the greatest miracle is peace that stays. faith that steadies, and love that endures. You have stopped striving to become and started resting in being. The divine has intertwined itself with your humanity, and together they form the melody of your purpose. Look around you. This is not the end of your story, but the beginning of your becoming. Restoration was never about returning to what was lost. It was always about awakening to what has always been within you. The crown you wear now is invisible, yet unshakable, forged from endurance, faith, and surrender. The world may never know the depth of what you overcame, but heaven does, and heaven smiles, not because you never fell, but because you always rose. Every fall became a prophecy of resurrection. Every tear became a seed of joy. Every scar became an inscription of strength. So walk gently now, radiant and ready. You are not who you were when this journey began. You are the result of grace perfected in persistence. You have seen darkness and chosen light. You have tasted bitterness and chosen love. You have walked through endings and discovered that resurrection is simply God rewriting beginnings. And when you breathe in this moment, this soft, sacred calm, know that you are standing in the fulfillment of every hidden prayer. Heaven kept its promise. The story was never about the fight. It was always about the rise. You are the living evidence that even ashes can sing, that even silence can speak, that even loss can lead to glory. The battle did not break you, it birthed you. And this, chosen one, is what the glory after the battle feels like. Beloved chosen one, if this journey has found a home inside your spirit, let its light keep traveling. Every message you've heard was a seed of strength, planted to bloom in your darkest hours. But the garden doesn't end here. It grows wherever hearts water it. When you like this message, it's not just a gesture, it's a small flame you send into the world, telling heaven, this word still burns in me. When you share, it becomes a bridge, a silent way of carrying light to someone standing where you once stood. Maybe tonight, a weary soul scrolling through shadows will find a reason to breathe again because you passed the torch. If you comment, even just a single word, see it as a stone placed in the altar of remembrance. Your words echo as living testimonies, saying, grace found me, and it can find you too. To subscribe is to stay near the fire, to remain part of the rhythm where revelation continues. You're choosing connection over isolation, reminding heaven that your heart remains open to hear. And if your spirit feels moved to give, let it come softly, naturally, not from pressure, but from peace. Giving is not about losing, it's about leaving traces of light for others to follow. Your offering becomes a lantern that continues glowing long after you close this page, guiding someone home through the same darkness you once knew. So, breathe, smile, and know this, your presence here mattered. You were meant to hear these words, meant to be reminded of your fire. Carry it now. Keep it alive. Pass it forward. The light continues through you,